Hello everyone and welcome to this new episode of this channel Arabic with Barazy, and in this episode we're gonna go over the pronunciation of Jeem, Ha and Kha. So let's get started. Hello again. In the previous episode we talked about the pronunciation of Al-Hamza and its hurdles, but in today's episode we're gonna talk about Jeem, Ha and Kha. Actually, though these three letters are organized in this way in the Arabic alphabet, and they are so similar in their shapes, and the only difference between each one of them is the dot that located in different location. So for example, it's located inside the Jeem, on the Kha, and there is no dot for Ha. And now let's talk about each one of them separately. First of all, let's talk about Jeem. Actually, the sound of Jeem is not different from the English sound of J, like jealous. So it's not so hard for the non-Arabic native speakers to produce this sound. For further explanation, you can see the figure beside me that's shown where is the sound of Jeem released from in the oral cavity and the whole procedure of producing this sound. I think it's so easy so far, so let's make it a little bit harder by talking about the pronunciation of Ha. Actually, I prefer to name this sound Harry Potter sound, because each time I watch Harry Potter speaks to snakes, I hear a bunch of sounds like Ha, Ha, Kha, Sin, but actually the sound of Ha is the most notable one and the clearest one. Let's see this video clip that's shown Harry Potter speaks to snake. Then we will complete. We can notice from the figure beside me that the sound of Ha generates due to air friction with the posterior parie's of pharynx, just behind the larynx. Pharynx, larynx, pharynx, larynx. I'll give you a tip to produce the sound of Ha by giving this exercise, and I want you to do it with me. First, pronounce a word that contains the sound of H, like hello, 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 hello. Now press gently above your larynx while you produce this sound. Hello, 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 hello. You will notice that the sound of Ha or H turns to the sound of Ha because you obligate the air to friction with the posterior parie's of pharynx, which is the articulation of Ha. The last sound for today is the sound of Kha, or what I prefer to name it, snoring sound. The sound of Kha is existed in so many languages like Russian, Spanish, German, and Hebrew, but unfortunately it's not existed in English. However, you can see the figure beside me to understand how to produce the sound of Kha with an anatomical explanation. And now let's talk about the mispronunciation of these sibling sounds, and we will start with